So this is part 3 of my 2000 Kia Sportage 4x4 restoration project, and I'm sorry for the long delay, but we got hit by a very big winter this year in the mountains, and that put a halt on my car project while we waited for a break in the storms, and they just one after another. So during the winter time, I decided to take advantage of the time, and since I had an electrical issue I couldn't track down, I decided I was just going to pull apart the top of the motor and rebuild it all the way down to the block, regasket the whole engine and make sure it was nice and tight and shiny before I started putting everything back together. So this is where the project stands at this point. I'm sorry I couldn't have taken pictures of the process of taking the motor apart and walking you through the process of rebuilding it back up, but I was kind of dancing in between the few breaks we had in the weather to get it all done, and trying to take pictures while you were freezing in the garage was more difficult than I thought it would be. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do while I was rebuilding this back up is cut down the amount of weight off the front of the vehicle, and the simplest way to do that was to remove the AC system completely, including the condenser and the compressor and all of the hoses and stuff, because they're really not needed up here in the mountains, and if you're going 4-buying, you really don't need all of that extra hardware bouncing around with you. Once all of this was done and the engine was back together, I still had to deal with the pesky electrical issue, which was giving me a check engine light on both my O2 sensors, because I have an upstream and a downstream O2 sensor on this car, and I couldn't figure out what was going on until I came across this wonderful little tool. This tool is called the Part3, and you can get it off eBay for around $80. And to be honest, this thing paid for itself within probably the first hour of using it, for it allowed me to track down the short in the power source to both of the O2 sensors at the fuse box, and I was able to bypass it by jerry-rigging a power line from the radio down to the fuse box powering the O2 sensors, and that solved all my check engine light problems with the O2 sensors. So I should be good to go on the smog now. The last big thing I had to do on this car was to get the snow tires installed on the vehicle, since all the other tires that came with it were bald, and then get it over to get it smogged, and I'll be on the road. So I hope you've enjoyed this project, and I hope in the future I can bring you more.